Hello everybody, my name is Jake Wolki. Can I get a show of hands of who was at the event last year? Yeah, a good amount of you. Who went to Melbourne? Anyone here go to the Melbourne event? And who's going to be here again next year? Max, take a photo, charge their cards. Put the commission on my account. Very good. Anyway, let's get into it because I'm notorious for going overtime and I've got a lot to say. So we're gonna kick off. I was told to do a disclosure announcement, who owns my thoughts and my words. And I thought it was an actually interesting thing to do. So at the moment, there's no one, but everything's got a price, I guess. But I do cop a fair bit of flack within the agricultural community because I'm promoting organic chemical-free food, which threatens them because by proxy, the message is that I'm saying their production's less than. So, you know, they're saying that I'm motivated to push organics because it's self-serving to me because I sell organics. And folks, we're going to get into this a little bit in my presentation, but the reality is my family came into producing chemical-free food because we needed it for our health. And we started as homesteaders. We started this to grow it for ourselves. We never intended to create a business and sell it to other people. The reason we started selling it to other people was we found other people that needed it too. So I think it's just a really interesting little thought experiment on that one. But I'm pretty squeaky clean at the moment. This slide used to say Wolki Farm, a regenerative farm, because that's what we've always been. And the last 12 months has been a crazy 12 months in our life. We've bought a property and we've moved out onto land. This is Mrs. Wolki in the background who's catering today. We've had another baby, so we've got 3 children now, so I'm a proven stud. We've got good birth weights, good growth weights, good temperament, reasonably intelligent, so I'm pretty happy with my performance so far. But we've had a lot going on the last year, and part of what's going on is the world's changing, isn't it? I listened to RFK Jr. give his presentation at the Bitcoin event in the States this week, and he was talking about how the US dollar's lost its purchasing power 50% in the last 6 years. So operating a business in this economy is really challenging and things change. So our business is changing. So it used to say a regenerative farm, and now it says part regenerative farm, where part research and development, we're trying to innovate and create new knowledge in the space and figure out how to do the style of farming that we want to do in a sustainable, profitable, family-friendly sort of way. So that's part of our research and development arm. We're part startup. We are absolutely bootstrapping and fighting every day of the week to try to crack into the market and present our offer. And I think we share a lot of similarities with little tech startup companies that have great ambitions and sort of know what they are going to do and how they're going to do it, and just requires an enormous amount of sweat equity up front. Part distribution and supply chain logistics. So we're going to get into this, but one of the hardest things in our business is actually not the farming. The farming's the easy bit. It's actually getting the meat in a packet to the person. So that's something that we're constantly putting a lot of time and effort into. We are quickly innovating to reach what we would consider to be minimum viable or minimum scale viability and defensibility. So what I mean by this is we need to be able to employ people, pay living wages. We need to be able to defend ourselves against bureaucracy, burdensome red tape, and people that might want to shut up our operation, which are real pressures that are out there in the marketplace. So firstly, we're just going to quickly talk about what is a regenerative farm. If you've seen any of my presentations, you've seen this slide, but I would like to present to you that a regenerative farm is a farm that regenerates the commons. Does anyone have any idea what the commons might be? Common resources. So normally when we talk about commons, Theodore Roosevelt was a great president that championed the commons, and he secured a lot of state forests. So it was a common resource that the community could go and enjoy, and there wasn't going to be a big factory put in it, and no one's tipping stuff down the river, and we were looking after our waterways and our forests. Well, I'd like to push the needle a little bit on that and suggest that these resources are also common resources. So air, no one owns the air, but you don't want to live next to a factory that's spewing out the smell of a manure lagoon or a coal plant. And so there is a social responsibility about what we're doing with our air, water, and I think soil's a common resource. You own your freehold, that land's yours. You can run around naked on it if you want to, depending on where you live. Maybe not you city people, I can. And the soil's yours. If you put a shovel in the ground and tip over the soil, that soil's yours. But if you're extracting and mining that soil due to chemical and industrial farming over decades, you're eroding potential health and fertility and abundance for future generations. And that's not fair. That's not yours to take. So I think soil is a good commons. Do you agree? Okay, we're on the same page so far. I'd also like to suggest that community health and community wealth should be looked at as common resources. If we're in a community where everyone's dealing with chronic fatigue, chronic disease, we all bear the cost of that. We bear it fiscally through our health Medicare system. We bear it socially with people being grumpy and ill and unproductive and whatever might come along with that. And I think community wealth in a functioning financial system is something that we could all benefit from as well. So these are, when I'm thinking about a regenerative farm, it needs to be something that's improving, regenerating. And what is it regenerating? They're my 5 commons that I would like to see regenerative farms striving towards. Are we in agreement? I feel like I'm at church. Can I get an amen? Right. Who am I? My name is Jacob Wolki, a father of 3. So I've got Otto, who's cruising around now. He's out there. Watch out for your ankles. I've got little Theodore, who's 3 years old in my arms there. That's baby Esma. She's just turned 1 year old. And that's us at my sister's wedding last year, which was a lot of fun. And she's expecting a little baby. So I'm looking forward to being world's best uncle again. Mrs. Wolki, she is the other half of Wolki Farm, and she's recently started getting a little bit fun and spicy on social media. You can find her on Instagram, and she's putting recipes and stuff up all the time, and I'm really enjoying watching her come into her own on that. I'm a raw milk enthusiast. Since we've moved out to the farm, I thought I'm going to get a house cow. That's one of the things you do when you get a bit of land. So I called the dairy, and I came home with 3, and guys, that's a lot of milk. I got my automatic milker, and day 1, 50 litres of milk. And I was like, oodie. So I got some calves, and I put calves on 2 of the cows, and I'm milking one of them. And, you know, that sort of 15 litres a day is much more manageable. I'm a Bitcoin maxi, fix the money, fix the food, fix the world. We're not going to get into that too much. I own a few local businesses with my family. We've got a bike shop, a cafe, and obviously Wolki Farm thrown in there. So we've got lots to do. We homeschool. We home birth. Thank you, Melanie, for that great presentation. We've had 3, and each one we've been further down our journey, and the last one at home was the most peaceful, beautiful, natural thing I've ever been a part of. And people think this is weird when I say it, but I'm sort of quietly proud of it. Our little baby Esma didn't cry until she was 4 months old. And I know home birth babies cry, like it's not a marker of success, right? But the first babies screamed a lot for a long time. And Esma came out and she looked at us and blinked her eyes. I should have put that photo in there. Such a the photo I've got so stunning. And she was calm and she didn't do a peep for 4 months. And now she cries heaps, so something's changed. As a family, I think you can see, because we want unadulterated food, crazy money, we homeschool and home birth. We're not content with the status quo. So we're always looking around to see what can we push the needle on. And one of the things is agriculture. Why did I get involved in agriculture? I don't have an agricultural background. My family are not career farmers. This is something that was different to us because no one produced what I wanted. I went on a food healing journey, and I would hazard a guess that every single person in this room has as well. I had, my whole life I've had respiratory and skin issues. I used to wake up when I was 8 or 9 years old and call out for my father because I was scratching my legs in my sleep to the point they bled and the sheet stuck to me, and he'd come in every morning and help me peel the sheets off. When I started my food healing journey, I was on 4 scripts, one for a steroid cream, one for a nose spray, and eye drop and a tablet to try to get my allergies and sinus issues under control. And not once did a doctor ever say to me, "What are you eating? What are you drinking? Are you exercising? Do you sleep well? Are you stressed? You know, are you rubbing bleach on your arms?" Like, not once did anybody ask me anything environmental or input related. Just let me have a look at your symptom. Let's turn the dial up and try this drug. And I had a breaking point one day, and my wife said, "Stop eating crap. We're going to get you on better food." And I thought, well, if I'm going to go to the effort of not eating crap, which for me was really hard, loved KFC and Noodle Box, If I'm not going to eat that, I'm not just going to eat better food, I'm going to eat the best food. So I went down the best food rabbit hole. And I decided that not only did no one produce what I wanted, but no one produced what my family needed. That was the feeling. We were at crisis point. We were sick. I was ready to move out of Albury to try find a different environment. I thought it might have been the pollen in the air or the freaking sunshine was wrong or something. I was at my wit's end. So I thought I can grow it myself. And this offends the heck out of farmers. This guy with no agricultural background decides that we're making him sick and he's got no skills and no assets and no experience and he's going to go grow it himself and heal himself. And folks, I did really quickly because the fundamentals of healthy animals and chemical-free farming is just that. How do we achieve it? We can talk about this as we move forward, but it's work. So Wolki Farm was born. We started with a pastured layer enterprise. So here's one of our 3 eggmobiles that we get our pasture-raised eggs from every day. We started doing pasture-raised pigs. Pigs are my favourite. They're absolutely incredible animals and very easy to farm outdoors, very anti-fragile animals. We started doing grass-fed beef. Here's a couple of our Nguni cows. The cow on the right there, Gugu, she just turned 10 and that's her 8th calf at foot. Unmedicated, untreated, never had assistance, never weaned a calf off her. She weans them herself. Everything's just easy, just how we like it. We started doing pasture-raised chicken, so we were selling chicken to people. We got rid of pasture-raised chicken because it was incredibly onerous because the access to markets was so challenging that I was killing myself and my staff trying to force that into existence. And I've got a big long story about that, but I've got limited time today. I've mothballed that enterprise. It'll come back one day, but now's not the right time. We do grass-fed lamb as well. We do a little bit of raw honey. That's Otto when he was about 3. I bought him a beekeeping suit and he's been helping me catch hives and tend the bees ever since. And I won't wear gloves because they're all too long and they fold over his fingers, even the kids' gloves. So he gets in there with his bee suit, bare hands, handling the frames and absolutely fantastic. We did have a market garden for a little while because we had no experience. So we just thought we're going to grow everything. We're going to throw all the mud at the wall and see what stuck. No market garden anymore. I would rather raise 100 cows than 10 metres of carrot garden bed. Growing vegetables is so hard. It's really hard. So there's a big time preference lesson in there. We breed standard schnauzers for the pet market as well. We're big dog lovers. We imported some standard schnauzers from Europe a few years ago, and that's a passion project of ours. Isn't that a nice photo of my wife? She's gorgeous. And I'm a meme aficionado. So if you follow me on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, you see I like to stir them up a little bit. This is a photo of me and Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago. I got flown in to discuss Nguni cattle, and Trump said they got huge potential. I generated that image on AI, and I've covered it up, but if you look real closely, I've got 8 fingers and 3 legs, and it's a pretty funny one. I got a comment from a local MP about that as well too, which I thought was funny. Trump has his steak well done with ketchup. But here's another meme that is one of my favourites. I'm very proud of this one, but obviously we've got us in the middle looking at Nguni beef, and we're thinking that's all right because we're sophisticated consumers. And then the prime Angus feedlot finished animal girlfriend's disgusted that she's being left behind. But we don't want your pre-diabetic cattle anymore. We want healthy, vibrant animals. Along our journey of growing the business, we figured out that there's enormous bottlenecks and challenges the whole way, but the most apparent was that processing was an immediate weak link. This is not the slaughter, this is the butchering. The slaughter's a problem, we'll get to that later, but the processing is an immediate weak link. So we started the farm in 2019, and in 2020, we were processing 2 pigs a month and 1 cow a month, so nothing. And like nothing in terms of paying the wage of a full-time butcher. They could do that in a day, but we bought this building and renovated it and cost way more money and took way more time than we thought it would. Got a refrigerated truck and Wolki Butchery was born. The butchers that we were using at the time were expensive, slow and inconsistent, and that's not a slight on their integrity or their work ethic entirely, but they're busy running their own butcher's cabinets and they've got their own business pressures, and they were really processing my animals out of a bit of a favour because I went in and sweet talked them, and I figured out very quickly that we were not their priority. So one of my little sayings in life is to turn a liability into an asset. So the butchering opportunity was a liability. We were getting left behind, we're missing deadlines, meat was going off in the cool rooms, we couldn't get bookings at the abattoir because we didn't own our own pick. As a butchery, you've got to have your own account. So we thought we'll buy our own and we'll offer this service for other farmers. So we were processing bodies in-house. We opened up our retail store. So you can enter the front door there. There's a PIN code. You get your unique PIN code. You let yourself in. Who's been in? A few of you. It's staffless. It's open 24/7 staffless. I've got a code. I've got a temporary code set up for everyone here. So if you want to go, come to me after the presentation and I'll give you the code and you can let yourself in and have a look. That's what it looks like inside. So we've got pork, beef, lamb, chicken, bit of our venison, pet food, broth bones, lard, tallow, honey, whatever. And we've got a few hundred members of people that serve themselves in there. And one of the other things we started doing was custom processing. So I put a butcher on full time and I thought, great, I got 1 day a month's worth of work for him. What are we going to do with the other days? And I rung around to all the local farmers I knew, whether they were selling direct or not, whether they were at the farmers markets or we'd met each other at a grazing course or whatever. And I said, I'm the guy for you because I know you're using another butcher around the corner and that's fine, but he doesn't understand your product and he doesn't understand retail packaging because butchers sell things naked. They're in a case, nude, and then they put it in a plastic bag and wrap it up in paper and throw it out. And the presentation of how it displays doesn't matter. We're selling things cryovac with a label on it and it needs to present in a farmer's market case. And I said, I'm a retailer, I'm a merchant. I know exactly how to make it look nice for you. And I think we do a good job doing that. So we picked up, in the last 4 years, we've custom processed for over 25 farms. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool to offer that service. In the beginning, I picked up about a dozen as soon as we opened and they all loved it. Good value, reliable, good communication, good packaging, everything great. Today, only 4 of those businesses still trade. I gave them good value. I gave them consistency, good communication. Those 19 farms sold every cut of meat we ever packed for them. None of them had any issues selling product. The market's there, but and they were selling out of stock at double, triple the price of the local supermarkets. It's not like they were giving stuff away at $10 a kilo and their business fell over. They're selling $80 scotch. They're selling $50 a kilo bacon. And I'm watching all these businesses dropping and I'm going, what is wrong? What is broken? They're doing everything right. They're farming right. They're doing community. They're standing all weekend at the farmer's market, freezing half to death, like all this stuff. And only 4 of them still trade. And the 4 that still trade, none of them are full-time. They've all got different farm income or off-farm income. So they're either doing 3 lambs a week as a bit of a supplementary income, or they're a commodity farm that's selling a portion direct to market. Does that make sense? So none of the 4 that are still trading are standing on their own 2 feet as a direct to market farm business. Well, what are the real problems? Labour requirements. We talk about the startup phase of our business. I regularly tip in and have for years, 80, 100, 120 hour weeks. Wednesday this week, I got up at 3 a.m. to start my work day and I got home at 8 p.m. And I don't say that to brag or cry poor. This is the reality of self-employed people who are trying to build something on a bootstrap shoestring budget and get ahead of this, this world that's full of regulatory capture. There's no other way but to either have a heap of cash, which I don't have, or have a heap of energy, which I do have. So these people were falling by the wayside because they ran out of energy. They got burnt out. They couldn't navigate the logistics. They couldn't access freight carriers. They didn't have the cash flow. They didn't have the equity. They couldn't navigate the burdensome red tape. And it was either one of those things in some cases, but most cases it was a mixture of those things, and they felt deflated and defeated, and they tapped out. I said earlier, we're trying to quickly reach minimum viable scale, and none of those businesses had hit minimum viable scale, meaning if they woke up and they were dog sick, there was no one they could call to look after their animals because they couldn't afford wages. No one had hit minimum viable scale. And in our space, unfortunately, the space being direct to market, regenerative, organic, wholesome, as a producer, it's full of commies. It's because it attracts empathetic types. And I'm not saying this as a slur, but if you love the soil and you love the bugs and you love the animals and you love the people you're growing it for, and it's all love, 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 you're a very empathetic, caring person. And a lot of them hearing something like scale or profit or cash flow, like these are a little bit sort of dirty. Well, we all want to be about cuddles and kumbaya and farmers markets. We don't sort of, like, what's your ROI? What's your ROAS? So I'm a little bit of an oddball in the industry because I love profit. Big fan. Fast forward to 2024. So that's a little bit of that's normally my 1 hour presentation about what we do and where we've come from. So fast forward to 2024, and things I've identified that I didn't know in 2019 when we started is there are many, many amazing producers in Australia. So when I said no one produced what I wanted, no one produced what I needed, they did, but they're not accessing the market. I've fallen in with amazing, large, at-scale families. We've got Bill Wern here from Holbrook. He's part of a grazing group in the Greater Hume called the 8 Families. And these 8 families are controlling thousands and thousands of animals and livestock under exceptional land care practices, low chemical farming, no chemical farming, low stress stock handling. Everything's perfect, but there's no 8 family sticker on a stake. It's all being sold off to, the highest bidder. The commodity goes to Coles. Sometimes you go to Coles, you really win, guys. You get Bill's beef. Other times you don't. And that's changing. Bill's got a couple of restaurants and he's putting his own beef through there, and things are happening. But I've found that there is an enormous amount of highly conscientious, very effective organic farmers around the country who just sell into the commodity market because there's no other market for them to sell into. And that's something that really sort of spun me out, threw me into a bit of cogdis, and got me very excited at the same time. So I've decided we're a bit of a sales and logistics startup. How can we help those people meet the market and by using our lessons, our skills, and our infrastructure? Because for me, looking at the industry of wanting to sell direct to market, I really think farming is the easy bit. And I know that's an antagonistic phrase, but going out and moving your cows into a new paddock for the day is lovely. It's so easy. It's nice. Yard work might be a little bit more work, drafting your weaners off or something, but you've got your yard set up and you're experienced and you know what you're doing, and it's fun. We farm these animals because we love it. And the farming is the bit all the farmers want to keep doing because they know how to do it. That's where I say, sorry, just don't send me hate mail. Sorry, it's the easy bit, because I tell you what, I don't pull my hair out trying to grow fat cows. I pull my hair out with all the freight inquiries. Where the hell's my box gone? My meat turned up defrosted. Your website won't check out, and it's because they're using a cookie blocker and shutting down my website's function. Like, that's the hard stuff, right? Trying to communicate that out to the market. So I've decided our business has 4 parts. Production, which is the farming. Processing, which is slaughter and butchery. Sales and logistics. And then there's a bit of a expansion on that. So when we look at Wolki Farm, and what does Jake do during the day? The farming is probably 10% of what I do during the day. Organising the processing is probably 10%, and the rest of it will be sales and logistics. All day, first thing in the morning, open the laptop. Where's the freight? Where's the truck? The animal's gone missing. All this sort of stuff. But these are enormous opportunities, because behind every problem is where the money lies, and the harder the problem, the bigger the payout, and the more worthwhile it is to go and chase it. So I believe there are huge opportunities for farmers to direct market in the current marketplace. But why bother? I've just told you how hard it all is. The logistics suck. It is a lot of work, but everything worth getting to is a lot of work, right? Having a baby, raising kids, healing yourself. The return on investment is behind effort. So one of the reasons I love the idea of selling direct to market is because it empowers you to become a price maker and not a price taker. So who understands how the commodity market works? The commodity market is you grow your beef, your lamb, your wheat, your soy, whatever it might be, and you sell it. The day you decide to sell it, it goes to a sale yards or it goes to an agent or whatever it is, and it sells for the rate of the day. The market decides at that moment what it's worth. There's no agreement. There's no guarantee. Imagine being a teacher and teaching for 12 months, and then at the end of the month turning up to the town square and people bid on what they thought that teaching was worth, and you had to just accept what you were given. Because these people are being paid at the end of the year for the finished product. And so I've heard about farmers having amazing years and making extraordinary amounts of money, and I've heard about farmers losing extraordinary amounts of money in really hard years. And that's that's a head screw. That's a really hard thing to wrap your head around. And I don't think it's fair, and I don't have a great answer, because all the solutions that we're providing are extremely difficult and slow, but we're doing our best. Another reason to sell direct is to increase cash flow and margin. Having a commodity business, your income, you might get 2 checks a year. You send off 2 crops a year, you get 2 checks a year. That's a hard business to run. I know these guys are sophisticated and they're used to it. I couldn't do that. I get deposits in my bank account every day, the website sales, the self-service butchery, invoices from wholesale accounts. It comes in all the time and I can manage my cash flow a bit nicer and just let it flow like water. Make farming entrepreneur friendly. Talking about a tech startup, innovation comes from entrepreneurs, people that are high energy, high drive, looking for high risk, high reward industries. And things like beef breeding is not fast energy, is it? You put the bull in, a month later you take the bull out, a few months later you have calves, a year later you sell the calves. Like there's a few trends, like of course there's a lot of work in there, but it's not really a breakneck, innovative, high-tech, dynamic sort of market. But I think if we're layering it with selling things, the talent that I'm attracting who are interested in what we're doing because they see the sales channels and the freight opportunities and the opportunity to meet new markets and do value adds is attracting a lot of talent. And I think that's something that's important to the space. I also think that in these enormous opportunities, value adding is food's not so secret weapon. And that's something that we're doing a lot of, and it's the future of Wolki Farm is value adding, and we're going to talk about this further. That's sort of the crux of my presentation today, and I'm going to give you some examples of those now. But it is so powerful for so many different reasons. But why else direct market? Why bother? It's a lot of work because you can make a difference. This isn't a part of my presentation, but I was thinking about it last night and I'll riff on it. I think I'm doing all right for time, so I'll treat you with it. And it's an unfleshed thought, but come with me. I get criticised by commodity farmers because I use green buzzwords, organic, grass-fed and finished, regenerative, cops a lot of flack, right? How do you quantify regenerative? Well, not extractive to begin with, right? We use all these green, nutrient dense, all these lovely fluff words. And I thought, well, I use all these nice words. What words do you guys use for your produce? Like extra chemical, triple tilled, but I thought, no, they do use phrases, but they're subversive. They're hidden phrases. The phrases industrial agriculture uses is MB8. That's the grade, that's the marbling of the steak. Or 350-day grain finished Wagyu. So they fluff it up, right? 350-day, when I hear 350-day grain finished Wagyu, I hear morbidly obese, diabetic cow standing up to its knees in shit, eating subtherapeutic antibiotics every day. That's what I hear. But we've been told 350-day grain fed, like it's so lovely, right? So we all have our own phrases and we sort of all co-opt them differently, but I've got a blog brewing about this one. It's going to be a cracker, so sign up to our mailing list and let's light them up. What's the future for Wolki Farm and other direct-to-market farm businesses? Well, I can't talk on everybody else, but I can talk about what we're doing with other people, because if you would have asked me 2 years ago, Jake, is all the meat in the cabinet yours? I would have said yes, and it always will be. And that was important to me because of integrity. And I probably thought no one else could do it quite like I did it because I was so scrupulous about it being chemical free and the way the grazing had to be done and the breeds we had to use and the way we had to butcher it. And now we're a collaborative farm because we've identified that our skills and offers that we can bring to the table are not farming. I can't teach Bill how to farm better, but I can maybe help him butcher and meet the market with what he's doing with the infrastructure and the lessons we've had over the last few years. So we are becoming more focused on production with an emphasis on consistency and efficiency. So if you came to the dinner last night, how good was that? Yardbird, they do a great job. I really appreciate dealing with Simon, and I made a little quip about myself, how I dropped off, he ordered some pork scotch, so the whole scotch muscle. He likes primals, right? I drop it off in Cryovac, and he does what he does with it. And I made a joke about how inconsistent my pork scotch is, that I dropped him off 14 rolls the other week, and the weight difference and the size difference between the smallest and the biggest was like 30-40% difference. And that's, commodity markets won't accept that, and abattoirs and supermarkets won't accept that. And there's some good reasons why they won't accept it. Customers are used to what they're used to and they want what they want. That's fine. And supply chains and efficiencies are built around consistency. And we've been, direct to market small scale farmers are really bad with consistency. the finishing period, finishing a cow all year round on grass, really difficult. The consistency is a problem, but it's what the market wants and it's what customers want. So we do have to become a little bit more sophisticated and level up our operation to meet that. So we're trying to meet that. And how do you do it? You do it with scale. If you've only got 40 pigs on your farm and you need to draft off 10 that are going to the abs, you don't have a very big pool to select from. If you've got a mob of 400 pigs that you're constantly selecting 10 or 20 from, you've got a lot bigger pool. And you don't have to really change your operation at all. Just having that scale on your farm has given you more options, gives the animals more time to grow. I really saw this when I started doing contract butchering on people's lambs. The farmers with the best lambs always had the biggest flocks. And just by talking to them, they'd run 400 lambs in the morning to select 20 to send me. And the poor lambs came from farmers with only 30 lambs because they didn't have much of an option to pick from. And other reasons too, but there's some genuine reasons there. What else is the future? Value-add products that increase margin, shelf life, market reach, and distribution opportunities. If you go to a business owner and said, you don't have to do much to your product that you produce and sell, and I can increase margin, shelf life, because we deal with perishables, market reach, you can sell it to people that previously wouldn't be interested, and distribution, they'll be like, that is the holy grail. How can you figure out that? How is that even possible? Guys, it's easily possible. And we're going to go through a few examples of it right now. And this is stuff that I'm really excited about in the space. And we've got a few cooking at the moment, pardon the pun. And the value adds will add as a cash cow and help the enterprise flow. So I've watched so many farms, not just the farms I produce for locally. I have watched so many startups start and finish in the 5 years that I've been farming. It's really sad and disheartening, but they go broke or they run out of energy, right? It's really hard. I'm trying not to sugarcoat it for you all. It's hard work out there. And I want to keep selling meat to people. I don't think my family is ever going to be able to buy 100 acres in Greater Hume and pay it off with the animals we grow on it through Wolki Butchery. It just will never balance. Even at my extraordinary prices, our food's not cheap and we can jam a lot in. Like 100 acres is a hobby farm around here, right? You have 2 ponies and a house cow. Well, on 100 acres, I could produce 400 pigs a year. I could probably do 60 bodies of beef. I could do a few sheep. We could have 40 beehives. We could have an acre of market gut. Like I could squeeze a lot out of it, but that 100 acre farm's $1.5 million. It just never makes sense. So the value adds, 100 acre farm with a couple smart value adds, you've got an enormous business potential to really claim some ground for market share. And we're going to talk about that. And what I'm trying to strive towards is by using these market value adds to essentially subsidize the cost of the meat that I want to give to the people who need it. Because my family's always had a rule, we don't buy businesses we're interested in. My dad had a record store, my family had 14 CD shops, and no one in my family plays an instrument or listens to music. My dad's an FM guy, talk back. And if you put music on, he goes, oh, that song again. We bought a bicycle shop in town, no one rode. And our whole idea has been, if you're a metalhead and you love metal, and I've seen this, because we were in the industry for a long time, you love heavy metal, you buy a music shop, what do you stock a lot of? And what's your demographic? You don't know because you never thought to ask. So our record store that was locally was in Lavington and they liked country music and classical music and we gave it to them. When we bought our bike shop, people wanted tricycles and electrical bikes. The other bike shops all thought trikes and e-bikes are lame. They would literally go, we're not selling it to you. They suck. And we're like, is that what you would like? You can have it. Let's go, right? So you got to meet the market. But what I was talking about and what I'm bringing that back to is Wolki Farm for us, we've blown all the family's rules out of the water because it is a business we're interested in. It's not, we haven't just looked at the balance sheet and gone, that makes sense. We've looked at our health balance sheet and gone, we were really sick without access to this lifestyle. And the people who call us to find out how to order it, buy it on the website and the feedback we get, I very rarely get feedback, that was the best steak ever, or this was so juicy. We get nice feedback, don't get me wrong. The feedback I get was my kid was allergic to eggs and now they can eat eggs without breaking out in hives. I haven't been able to digest pork for years. I get stomach cramps and indigestion and diarrhea and I eat your pork and I feel great. This is the feedback we get. So I really feel like we're not selling meat to people who want it. I really feel like we're selling it to people who need it. So I feel like there's a bit of a cause, an onus. We can't stop. but it's not entirely viable on its own with the scale and the way the market's set up. And we're going to offset that with the value adds that you're all going to keep buying from us. And we're going to make the whole thing keep going round. Just before we get into the value adds, I slipped these slides in this morning. Max was going, where's your presentation? I said, I've just thought about something really cool. Talking about collaborating with other farmers and opportunity, this is something that we're moving forward with. This is my father, my uncle, and my grandpa. On Wednesday, we went up to West Wyalong. Who's been to the thriving metropolis of West Wyalong? Brilliant, look at that. Must be gold miners in the building. And so I met Mr. David Bushell. Put your hand up, Mr. David Bushell. I met him at a farm tour 18 months ago or something, and then we hooked up at Regenerate. And, oh, you're that fella. We had a chat, and we kept communicating. We swapped markets, swapped numbers, and kept chatting. And one day, Dave called me. I told him how hard it was to find lease land down here, and a little bit later, he called me. He said, oh, there might be a block up at Wyalong. It's a bit of a drive, but I'm closer than you, and it's pretty good land, and it's been flogged out, and I think we can do something with it. And you fast forward a few months, and Mr. Dave Bushell, another friend of ours, Jim Alexander, and myself have gone in on a joint venture, and I think you've just picked up some more land. So there's almost 4,000, bit over 4,000 acres up there now under regenerative principles, which we're excited about. This is cropped land. This is heavily cropped, full-time, no livestock land that we're restoring to livestock grazing, and a bit of mixed species cover cropping and fun stuff. But now we've got this scale behind us. So I used to run 60 sheep through my cattle yards to tag and mark. Absolute nightmare. Would take me all day. Running sheep through cattle yards is extraordinarily hard. Jim came along on this day, and we had almost 1,000 sheep in the yards there. That's about half of them. And the yards are set up for them and the infrastructure's there, and Jim's got a couple nice working dogs, and he could have done all those 1,000 sheep by himself in 2 hours, just with a bit of sophistication, a bit of infrastructure and a bit of scale, and off we go. And that's available to us out of Uncle Dave's kindness to bring us in on that collaboration. I call him Uncle Dave because he's a fatherly figure in my life. He's taken an interest in what I do as a career farmer and gives me a lot of good advice. And I thought he's a nice fatherly figure, but it doesn't feel appropriate to call him Daddy. So I'll call him Uncle Dave. Each one of us brings something different to the table. So Mr. Bushell's Uncle Dave is presenting later on today, and he's a career agronomist, and he's a soil doctor. And if you've got a problem, he knows how to fix it. Which way would you like to fix it? He can help you do all sorts of ways. And he brings that to the table, as well as a lifetime of farming. Jim is also an agronomist and also a farmer, a very good livestock handler, very conscientious and thoughtful, and an intelligent fellow. And I'm high energy on Facebook, screaming, marketing, selling, shipping boxes out. And there's something different for all of us to bring to the table there. And my dad and my uncle, my grandpa were just standing there complaining, oh yeah, we're out here in the sun, windswept, cold. Look at all these sheep, they stink. So the men in my family are something else. Something else we're doing out there is research and development. I'll touch on this briefly, but I love my pigs. Pigs are great to farm. Pigs are slighted the worst in industrial agriculture and factory farming because they're anti-fragile. They can put up with atrocious conditions for their whole life before slaughter. Think about this fact. A pig raised in a factory farm will only feel sunshine on its skin the day it's trucked to the abattoir. 8-month-old pig. Now, we talk about the founding fathers and the Bill of Rights, the freedom of free speech. We got freedom of, this is an American thing, right? I understand. But they thought we need to protect free speech, assembly, right to bear arms. There's no protection about protecting your right to ingest the food you want. So you can't access raw milk in certain states in America. In Australia, you can access it nowhere except if you're at Wolki Farm in our home kitchen. But they never thought to protect it because it was so self-evident that you can't take people's food choices away from them. I think they never thought to write it up. Well, what about the right for an animal to feel sunshine on its skin? I'm not saying we need an act, or maybe we do, but it just seems so self-evident that animals should be able to express themselves outside the way nature intended that no one ever thinks to articulate it. But it's really, like, they never feel sunshine. I just think it's such a sin. So one of the things that we're doing, we love raising our pigs. We get a lot of pushback from customers because we feed a GMO-free feed that does contain corn and soy. And our pork's expensive. And if we take corn and soy out, we're substituting with other things that'll make the feed cost more and they'll take longer to grow, and the pork will go from expensive to very expensive. But at Damara Heights, we're sowing multi-species cover crops to grow our own grain, mixed feed at a lower cost than I can buy it from off the market. We're going to feed that to the pigs and see how we go. And we're going to be benchmarking soil health, the nutrition of the feed, blood cortisol out of the pigs prior to harvest, so how stressed their immune system and their health is, and the nutrient density of the pork product itself. And we're going to tie it all the way back to the soil and the farming practices. And we want to be able to sell you corn and soy free pork from organic, multi-species, locally grown, chemical-free feed if you want it, but it's a sliding scale. We can't do it overnight. And so this is one of the projects we're running on this farm. We've got a crop in now and I'm very excited about it. And we're just really excited in terms of a bit of an altruistic thing to have 4,000 acres that's not going to be sprayed and desiccated and ploughed up while we're there. And we're going to restore some animals on there and improve the fertility and get the natural hydrology and life cycle going on that land again. It's just a nice feeling. There's the three of us. We're driving along. Dave, that's Jim in the middle. We're driving along and Dave's reefs on a handbrake and screams up on the side of the road, and the two boys are crawling around hands and knees. That's kangaroo grass and that's mycorrhizal fungi, and we're picking seeds off the side of the road. It is just such a fun adventure. We had a great time. In the background, that's just next to the block we're leasing. There's Jim on Wednesday, the Damara wrangler, grabbing a few of my Damara lambs to put some tags in their ears, checking out the feed that's coming through on these old cropping paddocks after we've given it a bit of a rest. And it's just an all-round good time. Anyway, let's get on with it. Talked about pork, and pork's a big direction. We ended up mothballing the chickens because market access was really hard. I think that the opportunities behind broilers is enormous. You need $1 million to do it properly. We were doing a batch of broilers every 3 weeks, which would 700 birds, which would return about $20,000 gross for us. But we were having to get up at 11 p.m. to load those birds at midnight to get to the abattoir in Melbourne at 4 a.m, drive home, go back the next day in the refrigerated truck. And I'm like, I can't keep sending myself and my staff down the highway at 1 a.m. You know, we talk about things like sustainability. It's not sustainable. Someone's going to die. I know people drive at night and they're fine. I'm not. I'm certainly not. But pigs, we've got a really fantastic pig abattoir that does a top-class job. Happy to take our business, an hour from Albury, and I can go there at 8 a.m. So we just went, let's go the path of least resistance. We don't have $1 million. We'll mothball the chickens for now. So what do you think the most profitable cut of pork is? Or highest revenue? Bacon. That's normally what you get. People will say a Scotch steak or a bacon. For us, it's the lard. You can see the lard on the pigs here. What do you think normally happens to lard? Gets thrown out. If a butcher in Albury or anywhere in Australia received most of these pigs, these fattier ones, they'd ring up complaining. Too much fat. The customer at the shop doesn't want it. Isn't that a beautiful red? On my screen, it's very red. There's real muscle tone on these animals. The fat's the best bit. And in eras gone by, America had warehouses full of 44-gallon drums, top to the top of lard, and that was sent to the bakeries, and it was sent to run your light in your house, your little oil light in the house, and it was so useful. It was made into soaps, and it was made into all sorts of stuff, and now it's a waste product. And I'm always looking in the bin going, what's the best bit? And then also you've got bonus cuts. So the nose, the ear, the tail, the trotters, no one wants. You can put them in a dehydrator for 36 hours at 70 degrees and they come out worth at a pet barn pricing, just a normal commodity pricing, not a regen special pricing. Those pieces added together for dog food are worth $67 and they're now shelf stable and I can post them in Australia Post. So we talk about value adding, shelf stable, increasing market reach, anything out of the bin bucket's profit. So I'm obsessed about fat at the moment. So meat pies and sausage rolls, we were offering pies. We're sort of reinventing the wheel a little bit. We're actually building a commercial kitchen at the moment, so bear with us. But you can take 200 grams of the lowest cut out of any animal and offer it as a premium pie. So what I mean by that is you can take an 8-year-old ram that would be a bit tough and lean and chewy, and if I sold it to you guys as lamb cutlets, you'd go, come on, Jake, you're pulling my leg a little bit, like $50 a kilo, really? And you slow cook it with a bit of garlic or a bit of ginger, whatever spice you want, and you put it in a pastry, and you got a $10 pie every day of the week, and you can really honour that animal's offering and contribution. It doesn't just have to be dog food, right? And it's great for the farm. You sell them frozen, you sell them fresh, you sell them heat and eat at the farmers markets. You've got a bit of time up your sleeve. Dehydrated pet treats. This one will blow your mind. Pasture-raised chicken. Whole bird from me, I've written it down here. When I was doing this, and I'd have to be selling these birds for at least $40 now with the cost of fuel and everything else. But a 1.6 kilo carcass, I was retailing for $35. I'd wholesale it for $28. I'd make $3 on that bird if nothing went wrong. Sometimes I got the whole $20,000 worth of birds back from the abattoir and it was off. That's why I drove down to get it myself. Twice I had 40 grams worth of chicken because the supply chain's so difficult. One pallet's not enough. They want a truckload. It used to be they'll talk to you for a pallet, not a box. Now they want a truck, not a pallet, because of labour issues and all sorts of things. So my chicken was double the price of organic and 4 times conventional. We all know you can go to Coles and get a cooked, stuffed bird hot out of the tray for $8. Yep, mine was raw and frozen for $35. Huge barriers of entry for small producers. I chopped up a heap of those off birds that came back because I'm looking in the bin seeing how I can make money. So I got my cleaver out, I split the wing into 3 parts, I did the neck, I filleted the breast into 4 or 5 strips, I put the whole thing in the dehydrator, and I thought, I wonder what that 1.6 kilo bird is going to yield me. Because the whole thing was bone in, it only lost 30% water weight, it became shelf stable, and the market rate of that bird on Pet Barn dehydrated chicken prices was $112, and now it's shelf stable and I can ship it in Australia Post. So that's commodity market prices. So that didn't matter, it was regen. So I could repair my soil and give these birds a better existence and actually make that viable by selling to dogs easier than it was to sell to people. Far easier. No one can get it. No one can buy this $35 chicken for themselves because they're like, at the shop it's $10. That $112 is what they're paying at Pet Barn, Pet Stock, all these. I'm not criticising them. That's the market. And they sell it. They wouldn't stock it if it didn't sell. You see, Claystone Meats, a local farm, just did a fundraise on Birchall to get some capital. They're a regenerative farm selling meat direct to market. What are they fundraising capital for? Dog food factory. To put their trim through because they've identified the market is so hungry and profitable that it's all for the pets. And the target market never complains. You know, the joke that you can't lock your wife in the boot, but you can lock your dog in your boot. You know, which one will be happy to see you? It doesn't matter. I thought you'd all know that, so I didn't deliver it very well. The target market being pets never complain. Doesn't matter if it's tender or brittle or stinky or whatever. This is where the mob gets upset with me. Jake, this is silly because it's a waste of good produce. That's organic, regenerative, whatever, and you're wasting it on dogs. And it comes back to our production values. There's our 5 pillars of production: animal welfare, environmental backbone, healing food, building community and profit. If you've watched any of my other presentations, I go into that at length and I explain the how and the why and why it's cyclical. They feed back into each other. I will grow food for whoever wants it, and that makes the enterprise viable. And if that's dogs, I'm fine with that. And part of the reason why I love regen is that I'm not feeding people who hate me. And this is a little bit of a facetious comment, and I put it there to make people think. In West Australia at the moment, you've got live export banned, and whatever you think about that as your own personal value, the farmers are really upset and it's affected their business. But the reality is that the majority, the democratic opinion, doesn't want them to do that. And so what these and now they're trying to get rid of desiccation in West Australia for paraquat, which might come up later today, which I think is great, but they're all very unhappy about it. What is breaking these farmers' brains and why they're so upset and their mental health is deteriorating, there's drought and market access and it's so hard to get going, what they haven't articulated is that they're actually producing food for people that don't like the way they farm. Because when you find out about the feedlots and the cropping and stuff, it doesn't pass the sniff test, doesn't pass the pub test, and they're really growing food for people who vote against them. They're sending the food into the cities, and the cities are blue, and then they're changing the policy on the people who are voting it to the point that they can't be viable anymore, and it breaks your brain a little bit. You can't figure out what's going on. I don't have that problem because I get love letters going, my kid's not sick anymore. It's a really nice feeling. And if that same letter, I do get that letter from people from their dogs. My dog always had flaky hair, flaky skin, doesn't have it anymore since I started eating your pet mints. Whoop-de-doo. We love it. Rightio, we're getting towards the pointy end here. I don't need another time warning. I'm very close. Talking about value adds, this is a Regenerate exclusive. This is a brand new product that Mrs. Wolki's been working on for months and months, and it's a lard lotion and a lard balm. We've got a jar down here. Thank you very much, sir. If you're in this space, this crunchy space, I love the word crunchy. I think if they're going to assign you with culty labels, you need to own them. So I'm crunchy, and I love it. And you all see tallow balm everywhere, don't you? It's the latest thing. We cook with tallow. We sell rendered tallow. We can't get enough of it. We wish our animals were far fatter than they were so we could get it. We can't scale tallow in our business because we can't source traceable tallow. It's the abattoirs that are doing, the big local abattoir that was doing certified organic kills isn't anymore. So if you wanted organic tallow, you don't know. Is it from the feedlot? It's really hard to get it. And I can't scale tallow because by the time you join a cow and slaughter the calf, it's 3 years. It's an entrepreneur's nightmare, beef breeding. If you want to get something going right, I can scale lard. I'm doing 400 pigs this year. If I got a purchase order in that meant I had to do 800 pigs, I could meet the market easily. I'd ring up, get some more piglets from my guy. And a sow has 12 piglets twice a year. Your cow gives you one calf once a year. So pigs are a lot of fun, right? But beyond that, I'm not trying to poo-poo on the tallow as a product. I think it's an amazing product. And if you're using tallow skincare, we're an absolute fan. We've had it as well. This is from our pigs, and we're very proud of it. And I actually think that it's a very appropriate product for Australia if it's coming out, or for humans rather, if it's coming out of clean pigs, because we share a lot in common from pigs. Tattoo artists practice tattooing on pig skin because it's the most similar thing to humans. What do they give really bad burn victims as a skin transplant? Pig skin. What animal do they harvest arteries out of to transplant into humans? Probably vegetarian humans. Pigs. In the last 10 years, we've had successful heart and kidney transplants out of pigs into humans. So I think we've got a lot in common. The mineral composition of our fats is very similar, and pigs will store toxic chemicals in their fats, which is why a lot of the carnivores don't want to eat a lot of pork and other meats like that. But when they're clean, healthy pigs from an environment like us, I think we're going to have a great product. So we've got lard lotion and lard balm. We're launching that here today, and my little feeling is that that's going to be we've got some big plans for this. We've got a big marketing push and commercial kitchen basically primarily for this product. And I think that this is something that Wolki Farm is going to be able to hang its hat on and fund the fun moving forward. Here's another meme for you. Here you go. She says he's thinking of other women, and he says, I bet if we bred an Nguni in Jersey, it'd be the best beef ever. Have you? You've seen these memes where she's jealous because she thinks he's cheating on her mentally. And he's like, geez, that T-bone steak I had 2 weeks ago was the best thing. That's what we do. We breed Nguni and Jerseys together, and they are amazing animals. So to wrap it up, some differences between the commodity industry and the direct-to-market industry. And Cindy had some great points on this, but the selling points of commodity is availability, volume, pricing, consistency. They actually market on the fact that it's bland and it's hyper-palatable. The bland is good because it doesn't offend anybody. But whereas our selling points, we don't have the availability, we don't have the volume, we don't have the pricing yet. But we do have value-aligned production for what our community wants. We do scratch those health needs. We are there for people who are curious, adventurous, local, and looking for ethical production. Thank you for your time.